Let me tell you a story that begins not in a hospital or a laboratory, but in the quiet moments of everyday life, in the space between breaths, in the gentle shift of weight from one foot to another, in the simple act of lying down to rest. This is a story about how our bodies speak to us, and how listening to that ancient wisdom can transform the way we move through our days. I want to share something with you that took me years to understand. Something that our grandmothers knew instinctively, but that we've somehow forgotten in our rush toward complexity. The human body, you see, is not a machine that needs constant fixing. It's more like a river, always flowing, always seeking balance, always responding to the landscape it moves through. And when we understand this, when we truly grasp the simple rhythms that govern our circulation, our vitality, our very life force, everything changes. There's a quietness that comes over people when they first realize that their health isn't something happening to them, but rather something they participate in with every choice, every posture, every breath. I've seen it in the eyes of countless individuals who suddenly understood that the tingling in their feet, the foggy thinking in the afternoon, the heaviness in their legs, all of these were simply their body's way of asking for attention, for small adjustments, for a return to natural patterns that humanity has practiced for thousands of years. Think about your heart for a moment. Right now, as you read these words, it's beating steadily in your chest, pumping blood through thousands of miles of vessels, delivering oxygen and nutrients to every single cell in your body. This magnificent organ doesn't rest, doesn't pause, doesn't take vacations. And yet, we often forget that we can support its work through the simplest of means, not through elaborate interventions, but through gentle, consistent practices that honor the body's innate design. The truth is that poor circulation is one of those silent whispers that too many people ignore until it becomes a shout. It creeps up slowly. This gradual slowing of blood flow, this subtle reduction in oxygen reaching the brain, the extremities, the vital organs. Perhaps you've felt it cold hands and feet even on warm days. That afternoon, mental fog that makes concentrating difficult, or the swelling in your ankles after a day of sitting. These aren't just inconveniences. They're your body's way of telling you that the river of life within you needs some gentle redirection. Now, I'm not here to overwhelm you with medical jargon or frighten you with statistics. What I want to share is far more hopeful, far more accessible than that. I want to tell you about the power of positioning, of breath, of simply arranging your body in ways that work with gravity, with anatomy, with the fundamental physics of fluid movement. These aren't miracle cures. They're something better. They're practices rooted in how we're actually built to function. Let me start with something so simple you might be tempted to dismiss it, but I encourage you not to. Tonight, when you lie down to sleep, try turning onto your left side. That's it. Just that small adjustment. You might wonder what possible difference this could make. But let me explain what's happening inside your body when you do this. There's a large vein called the inferior vena cava that runs along the right side of your spine, carrying blood from your lower body back up to your heart. When you lie on your left side, you're taking pressure off this vital highway, allowing blood to flow more freely back to your heart and, consequently, up to your brain. This isn't mysticism or wishful thinking. This is simply understanding anatomy and working with it rather than against it. When blood flows more easily to your heart doesn't have to work as hard. When your heart isn't straining, it can pump more efficiently. When it pumps more efficiently, better oxygenated blood reaches your brain. And when your brain receives optimal oxygen, you sleep more deeply, think more clearly, and wake more refreshed. It's a cascade of benefits that begins with one simple choice: which side you sleep on. But let's not stop there, because the wisdom of positioning extends throughout your day. Think about how you sit. Right now, pause and notice your posture. Are your feet flat on the floor? Is your back supported? Are you slouching or crossing your legs? These might seem like small things, like mere matters of comfort or habit, but they profoundly affect how blood moves through your body. When you sit with your feet flat on the floor, knees at approximately 90 degrees, and your back gently straight, you're creating an open pathway for circulation. Your blood vessels aren't kinked or compressed. Your veins don't have to work against sharp angles and awkward positions. It's like the difference between water flowing through a straight hose versus one that's been twisted and bent. The same amount of force produces very different results. Over the years, I've watched people make this one adjustment and report back with surprise about reduced swelling in their legs, fewer episodes of numbness, and an overall feeling of greater alertness throughout the day. This isn't because proper posture is magic. It's because proper posture respects the body's design. We're meant to sit in certain ways, to position ourselves in alignment with our skeletal structure and vascular system. When we do, everything flows more smoothly. And here's something beautiful: you don't have to maintain perfect posture every moment. That would be exhausting and unrealistic. But what you can do is check in with yourself regularly, every half hour or so. Notice how you're sitting. Make small adjustments. Uncross those legs. Plant those feet firmly. Straighten that spine just a little. These micro corrections, practiced consistently throughout the day, add up to significant improvements in circulation and energy. Now let's talk about standing, because this is where another powerful principle comes into play. Find a wall, any wall in your home or office will do. Stand with your back against it, heels about an inch away. Gently press your lower back, shoulders, and the back of your head against the wall. Lift your chin slightly, as if a string were pulling the crown of your head toward the ceiling. Hold this for just 30 to 40 seconds. What you're doing in this moment is realigning your entire spine, lengthening your neck, and opening up the pathways through which blood travels to your brain. As we age, we tend to develop tension in our neck and shoulders. This tension isn't just uncomfortable, it can actually compress the carotid arteries, those major blood vessels that deliver oxygen-rich blood to our brain. Even mild chronic compression can lead to reduced blood flow, which manifests as dizziness, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, or what many people call brain fog. This wall exercise, simple as it sounds, gently releases that tension. It reminds your body what proper alignment feels like. And when practiced regularly, even just once or twice a day, it can make a remarkable difference in how alert and clear-headed you feel. Some people tell me they do this first thing in the morning to start their day with clarity. Others prefer it in the afternoon when energy typically dips. The timing matters less than the consistency. But positioning isn't the only key to vital circulation. Let's talk about something even more fundamental, something you're doing right now without thinking about it: breathing. The breath is perhaps the most underappreciated tool we have for influencing our circulation and overall health. Most of us breathe shallowly, using only the top portion of our lungs, engaging primarily our chest rather than our diaphragm. This is particularly common when we're stressed, sedentary, or focused intently on tasks. Shallow breathing doesn't just limit oxygen intake, it affects the entire cardiovascular system. When we breathe deeply, fully engaging the diaphragm and allowing the belly to expand, we take in more oxygen with each breath. This oxygen-rich blood is then pumped throughout the body, nourishing every cell. But there's more happening than just oxygen exchange. Deep, diaphragmatic breathing actually helps dilate blood vessels. promoting better flow throughout the entire circulatory system. Let me guide you through this practice right now. Lie down if you can, or sit comfortably if you must. Place one hand on your chest and the other on your belly. Now, breathe in slowly through your nose, counting to 4. As you inhale, focus on making the hand on your belly rise while the hand on your chest stays relatively still. This ensures you're breathing deeply into your diaphragm, not just filling the upper chest. Hold that breath for a count of 7. Then exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 8, feeling your belly fall as the air releases. Do this for just 3 or 4 cycles, and notice how you feel. Many people report an immediate sense of calm, a slowing of the heart rate, a general relaxation spreading through their body. This isn't imagination, it's physiology. The 4-7-8 breathing pattern activates the parasympathetic nervous system, shifting you from fight or flight mode into rest and digest mode. In this state, your blood vessels relax and open, allowing blood to flow more freely. Your blood pressure may lower. Tension that had been constricting vessels melts away. This practice is particularly powerful before sleep. Those who struggle with racing thoughts at night, or who wake feeling unrefreshed, often find that just a few minutes of deep breathing before bed transforms their sleep quality. And better sleep, in turn, supports better circulation, as the body uses those nighttime hours for repair and restoration of the cardiovascular system. Now, while we're on the topic of lying down, let me share something that combines the principles of positioning and gravity in a particularly elegant way. This practice is especially valuable if you've been on your feet all day, if you experience swelling in your legs, or if you simply want to give your circulatory system a gentle boost. Find a wall and lie down with your bottom close to it. Raise your legs so they rest against the wall, creating an L shape with your body. Your arms can rest at your sides or on your belly, whatever feels natural. Stay in this position for anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes. Breathing naturally. What's happening here is beautifully simple. For most of the day, especially if you spend a lot of time standing or sitting, gravity is working against the return of blood from your legs back to your heart. Your veins have to work hard to push that blood upward. By elevating your legs above your heart, you're temporarily reversing the effects of gravity, making it much easier for blood to flow back to your heart and then out to the rest of your body, including your brain. People who make this a regular practice, perhaps in the evening before bed, or during a midday rest, often report reduced leg swelling, decreased discomfort from varicose veins, and an overall sense of rejuvenation. Some describe it as feeling like their legs are light again. What they're experiencing is the relief that comes when pooled blood and lymphatic fluid finally drain properly, when pressure on the veins decreases, when circulation is optimized through the simple principle of elevation. There's something profound about practices that ask so little of us yet offer so much. We live in an age that often suggests we need complex solutions, expensive interventions, dramatic changes, but the body responds beautifully to gentle, consistent care. It responds to practices that honor its design rather than fighting against it. Consider this: even slight elevations help. When you're sitting at your desk or on your couch, placing your feet on a small stool or stack of books, lifting them just a few inches above floor level, reduces pressure on the veins in your legs. Combined with a few ankle circles or gentle toe taps every so often, this simple adjustment can prevent the pooling of blood that leads to swelling and discomfort. Your calf muscles act like a second heart, pumping blood upward when they contract. By occasionally flexing them, you're assisting your circulatory system in its constant work. These practices: side sleeping, proper sitting posture, wall alignment, deep breathing, leg elevation, they're not isolated tricks. They're parts of a larger understanding. a way of moving through life that acknowledges we're not separate from our bodies but intimately connected to them. When we pay attention to these simple rhythms, when we make small adjustments that support natural circulation, we're not just preventing potential problems. We're actively cultivating vitality. And here's what I've observed over years of sharing these practices with others. The benefits extend far beyond improved circulation. When people begin to pay attention to their bodies in these gentle bodies, non-judgmental ways, something shifts in their overall relationship with their health. They become more attuned to what their body is telling them. They notice patterns they'd previously ignored. They develop a sense of agency, understanding that they can influence their well-being through simple daily choices. This awareness naturally leads to other positive changes. Someone who starts paying attention to their sitting posture often begins to notice what foods make them feel energized versus sluggish. Someone who practices deep breathing might become more aware of how stress affects their body and seek out other stress reduction techniques. Someone who experiences the rejuvenation of legs up the wall pose might be inspired to take short walks during the day, further supporting their circulation. It's important to understand that these practices aren't about perfection. You don't need to do all of them every day. You don't need to execute them flawlessly. The goal isn't to add stress to your life by creating a rigid routine. Rather, think of these as tools in a toolbox. Some days you might need one tool more than another. Some practices might resonate with you while others don't. That's perfectly fine. What matters is developing an awareness of your body's needs and having simple, accessible ways to meet those needs. Perhaps you notice your ankles are swollen in the evening. Elevate those legs. Maybe you wake with a stiff neck. Try side sleeping. When afternoon brain fog descends, take a breathing break. When you've been sitting for hours, check your posture and take a brief walk. The beauty of these practices is their accessibility. You don't need special equipment. You don't need a gym membership or expensive classes. You don't need to set aside huge blocks of time. These are practices you can do in your bedroom, your living room, your office. They integrate into life rather than requiring you to carve out a separate health time that feels burdensome. Moreover, these practices are appropriate for people at various ages and fitness levels. Someone in their 30s can benefit just as much as someone in their 70s. Someone who runs marathons and someone who hasn't exercised in years can both find value in proper positioning and breathing. This is medicine that meets people where they are, that respects individual limitations while still offering real benefits. Now, I want to address something important. These practices are powerful allies in supporting your circulatory health, but they're not substitutes for medical care when it's needed. If you have diagnosed circulatory problems, high blood pressure, a history of blood clots, or any other cardiovascular concerns, please work with your healthcare provider. These practices can complement medical treatment, but they shouldn't replace it. Think of them as part of a comprehensive approach to health that includes proper medical oversight, appropriate medication when necessary, and these supportive daily practices. The goal here isn't to reject modern medicine, but to embrace a fuller picture of health, one that includes both professional medical care and personal daily practices that support your body's natural functions. The two work together beautifully. Your doctor manages the big picture medical concerns while you, through these simple practices, support your body day by day, moment by moment. There's something deeply empowering about realizing that you have this kind of influence over your own well-being. In a world that often makes us feel powerless regarding our health, these practices return a sense of agency to us. They remind us that while we can't control everything, we can control quite a lot through the simple choices we make throughout our day. I think about circulation as a metaphor for life itself. When things flow smoothly, when we're not blocked or constricted, when we're aligned with our natural rhythms, vitality follows. This is true for the physical flow of blood through our vessels. But it's also true for how we move through our days, how we relate to stress, how we make space for rest and activity. When circulation is optimal, we think more clearly because our brain receives the oxygen it needs. We have more energy because our muscles and organs are well nourished. We sleep better because our body can properly regulate itself during rest. We feel more balanced because our nervous system isn't constantly compensating for restricted blood flow. It all connects, and this is why I encourage you to approach these practices not as chores, but as acts of self-care and self-respect. When you take a moment to adjust your posture, you're saying my body deserves to be comfortable and supported. When you practice deep breathing, you're saying I deserve this moment of calm and oxygenation. When you elevate your legs, you're saying I honor my body's need for rest and restoration. This shift in perspective matters. When we view health practices as obligations or punishments, we rarely sustain them. But when we see them as gifts we give ourselves, as acts of kindness toward the body that carries us through life, they become easier to maintain. They become something we look forward to rather than dread. Let me share something personal. Years ago, I was like many people rushing through my days, barely aware of my body except when something hurt or felt wrong. I slouched at my desk, breathed shallowly, rarely thought about how I positioned myself for sleep or rest. And I paid the price in chronic fatigue, mental fog, cold extremities, and a general sense of being disconnected from my own physical self. When I first learned about these simple practices, I was skeptical. They seemed too easy, too simple to make any real difference. But I was desperate enough to try. And what I discovered transformed not just my physical health, but my entire relationship with my body. Within weeks of consistently practicing proper positioning and deep breathing, I noticed changes. My energy improved. My thinking cleared. Those cold hands and feet warmed up. I slept more soundly and woke more refreshed. But more than the physical changes, I experienced something I hadn't expected, a sense of being at home in my own body, of working with it rather than against it, of honoring rather than ignoring its wisdom. This shift has rippled out into every area of my life, informing how I make choices, how I respond to stress, how I prioritize rest and activity. This is what I hope for you, not just improved circulation, though that's wonderful, but a deeper connection with your own physical being, a trust in your body's wisdom, and confidence in your ability to support your health through simple, sustainable practices. So, let's talk about how to actually integrate these practices into your life. Start small. Don't try to do everything at once. Perhaps choose one practice that resonates with you, maybe side sleeping if you often wake feeling unrefreshed, or the wall posture if you experience neck tension. Practice this one thing consistently for a week or two. Notice how you feel. Pay attention to any changes, however subtle. Once that first practice feels natural, add another. Perhaps you'll add a few minutes of deep breathing before bed, or you'll start checking your sitting posture every hour. Build slowly, allowing each practice to become habit before adding the next. This gradual approach is far more sustainable than trying to overhaul your entire life overnight. Keep a simple journal if that appeals to you. Nothing elaborate, just brief notes about what you practiced and how you felt. Over time, patterns will emerge. You'll start to see connections between these practices and your overall sense of well-being. This reinforcement helps sustain the practices even on days when motivation is low. Be patient with yourself. Some days you'll remember every practice. Other days you'll forget entirely. This is normal and human. What matters isn't perfection but persistence. Even if you only manage these practices a few times a week, that's still so much better than not doing them at all. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. Also, be open to adapting these practices to your specific needs and circumstances. Maybe the full legs up the wall pose isn't comfortable for you, but you can modify it by lying on your back and placing your calves on a chair or ottoman. Maybe deep breathing for several minutes feels overwhelming, but you can start with just 3 breaths. Make these practices work for you rather than rigidly adhering to some ideal form. Consider involving others if that would help. Practice the breathing technique with a partner before bed. Remind a colleague to check their posture. Share what you're learning with friends or family members who might benefit. Not only does this create accountability, but it also spreads these valuable practices to others who need them. And here's something important. Celebrate your small victories. Notice when your mind feels clearer after a breathing session. Appreciate when your legs feel lighter after elevation. Acknowledge when you catch yourself slouching and make the adjustment. These small moments of awareness and correction are victories worthy of recognition. As you develop consistency with these practices, you might notice that other aspects of your health begin to improve as well. Better circulation supports better sleep, which supports better mood regulation, which supports better stress management, which further improves circulation. It's a positive cycle, each element reinforcing the others. You might also find yourself naturally drawn to other health-supporting practices. Someone who becomes attentive to their body's positioning often becomes more interested in gentle movement, perhaps walking, swimming, or stretching. Someone who experiences the calming effects of deep breathing might explore meditation or yoga. Someone who notices improved energy might begin to examine their diet or sleep habits more closely. This organic expansion of health awareness is natural and healthy. Allow it to unfold without forcing it. Trust that as you develop greater body awareness and experience the benefits of supporting your circulation, you'll naturally be drawn to other practices that serve your well-being. Now, I want to address a question that often arises: how long until you see results? The honest answer is that it varies. Some people notice changes within days: better sleep, clearer thinking, reduced swelling. For others, the improvements are more gradual, unfolding over weeks or months. Much depends on your starting point, your consistency, and your individual physiology. What I can tell you is this: the practices work. They work because they're aligned with how the body actually functions. They work because they support rather than force. They work because they're sustainable rather than extreme. Whether you notice dramatic changes quickly or subtle improvements gradually, know that you're supporting your body in meaningful ways. Remember, too, that the absence of problems is itself a benefit. If you avoid the decline in circulation that often comes with age and sedentary lifestyle, that's a huge win, even if you don't feel dramatically different day to day. Prevention, though less glamorous than cure, is ultimately more valuable. Let me close with this: your body is remarkable. Right now, as you read these words, millions of processes are happening automatically to keep you alive and functioning. Your heart is beating, your blood is flowing, your cells are respiring, your nervous system is processing. All of this happens without conscious effort on your part, which is miraculous when you really consider it. But while much of this happens automatically, you're not powerless. Through simple practices like the ones we've discussed, you can support these natural processes. You can make your body's work easier. You can create conditions that allow optimal circulation, vitality, and well-being. This is your birthright and your responsibility. You deserve to feel energized, clear-minded, and comfortable in your own body. You deserve to move through your days without the burden of poor circulation weighing you down. You deserve the vitality that comes when blood flows freely, delivering oxygen and nutrients to every cell, clearing away waste products, maintaining the delicate balance that is health. These practices: side sleeping, proper posture, wall alignment, deep breathing, leg elevation are your tools for claiming this vitality. They're not magic, but they're powerful. They're not complicated, but they're effective. They're not demanding, but they're transformative when practiced consistently. So here's my invitation to you: start tonight. Choose one practice. Try it. Notice how you feel. Tomorrow, do it again. And the day after that, build slowly. Practice consistently. And trust in your body's innate wisdom and capacity for healing and vitality. Your circulation, your energy, your clarity of mind, these are not luxuries. They're fundamental to living fully, to meeting each day with presence and capability, to enjoying the precious gift of this life you've been given. You have the power to support these through simple, accessible practices that honor your body's design. Take that power. Use it, not someday when you have more time or feel more motivated, but now, today. This moment, your body is ready. The practices are waiting. All that's needed is your commitment to begin, to persist, to trust in the simple wisdom of supporting your natural circulation. You are capable of this. You are worthy of this. Your vitality, your well-being, your quality of life, they matter. They matter to those who love you, to the work you do in the world, and most importantly, they matter to you. So give yourself this gift. Start today. Your body will thank you, and you'll wonder why you waited so long to embrace practices that are so simple yet so profoundly life-enhancing. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Countless others have walked this path before you and experienced the transformation that comes from supporting their natural circulation. You're joining a tradition of wisdom that spans cultures and centuries. The simple understanding that when we align ourselves with our body's natural rhythms and needs, vitality follows. May you find in these practices not just improved circulation but a deeper connection to yourself, a greater sense of agency over your health, and the joy that comes from living in a body that's well supported and honored. May you wake each morning with clarity, move through each day with energy, and rest each night deeply and peacefully. This is possible for you. This is waiting for you. All you need to do is begin.